Part 40. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 392. 3 or 9 Start the Big Battle. Up, with the order of Cao Guang, I saw 8 columns of white light rising around a hill at the same time. The white light soared into the sky and went straight into the sky. Even at this moment, it was noon of the day, and the sun could not affect the white light at all. It is so bright, as if there is soaring energy in it. Ecchi standing in the door of the stone room can also feel the majestic energy emitted from those 8 white light columns. The white light rose higher and higher, but at a certain point in the sky, it seemed to be suppressed by some. It slowed down the speed of rising, and then, the rising more slowly, until the sky was nearly 100 meters high. This stopped the pace of progress. At this time, Ecchi saw Cao Guang flying up, and his sleeves moved automatically without wind. I saw him flying to the highest point of the hill, where there was a jade platform, and the formation enchantment was also arranged on the platform. Cao Guang stood in the middle of the formation enchantment, as if the wind was getting stronger. His whole clothes, including pale hair and beards, seemed to be a flexible butterfly, turning wildly. Disperse, Cao Guang Gongtian roared, while he quickly hit the sky with his hands and various methods. The disciples below are all standing outside the stone room, watching the large array of miracles quietly. After Cao Guang's order, the top of the 8 white pillars of light around the mountain package immediately changed. I saw that the light at the top of the 8 beams of light separated from the middle into a light curtain, and looked down, as if 8 huge transparent parasols had risen in the sky. The umbrella-shaped light curtains on the tops of the 8 light pillars surrounding the hill pack are getting wider and closer to each other. When the light curtains touch together, they merge into one piece, gradually, a transparent, like a giant soap bubble. The formation of the matrix slowly formed. All the disciples looked up at the sky. Such a grand and majestic formation start is not often seen. Of course, a black man was watching and wondering. The difference was that there was a slender white line from his feet. The white line extended along the door frame of his stone room to the upper level, and finally disappeared in a stone room on the 2nd floor. Ecchi looked down at each of the majestic gold-winged ants, and looked at the old man who looked up at the sky not far above him. "Hey, Uncle Lin, borrow your quiet room to raise ants. I hope it won't add you trouble." At this time, the small hill bag was completely surrounded by the light curtain, but apparently, the formation method did not end. The 9 turns led the spirits. Now the 9 palaces opened the surrounding 8 houses, and the last Nikajo was the most important. Looking up to see Cao Guang, at this moment his sleeves, robes and beards were still. In front of him was an octahedral red spar, and he was still missing a word, as if he was reading a long curse. Is that the top-grade spirit stone? Ecchi was the first time he saw the top-grade spirit stone, which was a circle larger than the middle-grade spirit stone and more than double the size of the lower-quality spirit stone. For example, the top-quality spirit stone is about the size of an egg, and the top-quality spirit stone is about the size of an egg. The top-quality spirit stone has the size of a salted duck egg. I don't know what the superb spirit stone looks like. Ecchi thought about shaking his head. The superb spirit stone had long since disappeared, and he could only produce a piece or 2 and not see it himself. At the time when everyone was praising the superior spirit and spirit of Cao Guang heard a dull and distant groan. Ecchi did not expect that there was still this paragraph in the spell. What it means is that the essence of the cultivation of immortals is to capture the heavens and the earth, to compete with all beings for aura, which is inherently incompatible with the heavens. And what does it say to hurt heaven and peace? This passage seems to be a self-defense of the creators of the 9 revolutionary spirit formation. It can be seen that this person created this hegemonic array, but it must be misunderstood and there is nowhere to sue. Enter a spell and let future generations use this array carefully. After finishing the last paragraph, Cao Guang waved his hand and pushed the top-quality spirit stone into the trough of the formation, while screaming in his mouth. Beifang Reiki. For my use. I saw a thick white beam of light rising from the top of the mountain bag. The momentum was like a fountain of light, a volcano of light erupted, and Cao Guang, standing in the white light, floated in the air and must be fully stretched. God. Almost all the disciples felt a buzz in their ears, a little like the feeling of digging their heads into the water. For Yekong, his analogy is more appropriate. It feels like entering a hyperbaric oxygen chamber. What does a hyperbaric oxygen tank feel like? Yekong didn't know, but one of his brothers went to the ground and was hit by a concussion. The boy went to do hyperbaric oxygen every day. According to the description of the boy, Yekong felt the same. In fact, these 9-turn priming Ling array really looks a bit like the hyperbaric oxygen warehouse in the Earth Hospital, except that it is not the oxygen that absorbs the compression, but the Reiki. By absorbing a large amount of aura around and compressing it at a high ratio, it is difficult to practice in such an environment. When Yekong looked up again, he saw that the 9 pillars had risen, and Cao Guang walked out of the white light. Looking at the dome formed by the white light curtain, I saw the white flock falling from the top to the naked eye from time to time. This is not anything else, it is all aura. Reiki is invisible and now it can be seen with the naked eye, showing its strength. Feeling the Reiki around me again, I feel very comfortable, as if my whole body is wrapped in the warm sea water. His ancestors were stingy. Zhuoling really deserves its reputation. This aura can no longer be described by abundance. This mother is simply an ocean of aura, someone could not help but praise him with curse words. Dear disciples, the 9 turns of the spiritual spirit formation is now open. I hope that everyone will not let down the expectations of the ancestors and elders of Zone Nei, work hard and hurry up. On the platform, Yun Fuzong's real person Zhongzihong shouted said. Yi Crooked Yekong snorted, entered the stone room, closed the stone door tightly, opened the small array in the room, sat cross-legged, and prepared to practice. However, before practicing, he must arrange Deu. Such an aura-rich location is also very beneficial to Deu's cultivation, and releases the spirit beast circle. Deu didn't even have clothes and was not convenient to carry storage bags, so Yekong only had to put a porcelain bottle with high-end spirit beast Dan on his side, and Deu would take it by himself. When taking the high-level spirit beast Dan, Yekong suddenly thought again, would such ample aura be beneficial to Xiaofeng Wolf King? Should we also release it for cultivation? It's cheap, of course, everyone is the best. But when Ye took out the Soul Hunter where the Howling Wolf King was, the situation inside surprised him very much. To the reader. Today's outbreak has been sent, I hope you all enjoy it. The foundation was ready to be built, but Xiaoman felt that he could not rush, but it was almost 2 days. At the same time, there is no need for a new application number on the computer website. After opening it, you can log in with a GG number, but the skull bag needs to be recollected and the username must be reset. This is also convenient. Bricks, recommendation tickets, all come. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 393. 3, 9, and 3 Wolf Kings. When Yekong took out the 100 souls, he was surprised to find that there were fewer ghosts in it. When Xiaofeng Wolf King went in, there were 100 ghosts filled with 100 souls, but now there are only 95, a total of 5 less. This has never happened before. The ghosts contained in the 100 souls generally do not disappear, because they are already soulless, and they have also escaped from the cycle. They can only be destroyed by opponents during the battle. Yekong now has a lot of instruments, and it has been useless for a long time. Why are the ghosts reduced? There is only one reason for this, and it is swallowed up. Who? Howling Wolf King. Yes, only it. This strange phenomenon appeared after it went in. Yekong played a trick to release Xiaofeng Wolf King. The Wolf King's spirit is not open, and of course he will not hide it. Yekong searched with his mind and found that it was indeed the Xiaofeng Wolf King who swallowed the 5 lowest order ghosts in the soul. Then your cultivation method is to devour the ghost, Yekong asked again. The Wolf King is not open, and of course he will not answer him. However, Dao said, soul cultivation, or ghost cultivation, they have no entity, cannot take elixir, and are not sensitive to Reiki. I think it is their best practice to devour other ghosts. That makes sense. Yekong nodded and searched the memory of Xiaofeng Wolf King again, and was surprised to find that this was the first time he devoured the ghost. In other words, in Qiu Qiangguang's wolf howling banner, it has never been swallowed up. Qiu Qiangguang's sky has never raised Xiaofeng Wolf King. Yekong was overjoyed. He did not expect that by chance, he knew how to promote the Wolf King. If Qiu Qiangguang had given him the Wolverine banner generously, he would not have made such an exciting discovery. The ancients said that blessing and misfortune depend on each other, don't be happy or sad, but it really makes sense, as if we don't know the misfortune, it may also plant a chance for blessing. Yekong nodded to himself and said to himself. Dao's voice also came over, my son, Dao likes to listen to such words that make sense to you. Every time I can make Dao feel, and, Dao thinks you are the most handsome at this time. Yekong laughed, it's not handsome at this time. I was handsome when I kissed 2 girls in the morning, did you peek? Dao really peeked. She didn't open up for a long time. She was a little girl's character and started to resist these things. However, as more and more people were known, she also changed a bit, and she even wanted to become a human figure earlier and try it out. Yekong revealed the bottom, and the red halo on the crystal water dragon's face even appeared embarrassedly, and returned to practice in the spirit beast circle. I don't want to watch, the fancy man stepping on 2 boats. Yekong haha laughed. Everyone knows what's wrong, haha, it looks like you're really open a lot. After teasing Dao, Yekong stretched out his hand and stroked the head of Xiaofeng Wolf King who squatted beside him, and said, let me put a wind blade on. Watching Xiaofeng Wolf King shaking his body, he raised his head and wanted to howl. Yekong quickly said, stop. What stinky? Let the wind blow, what is your name? How bad is it to scare kittens and puppies? In the future, let us not shoot, quietly release, killing invisible. One mouth, others thought you were calling, in fact, a wind blade has been released, let him be defenseless. Dao, who was hiding, despised her heart, and every time the boy sounded reasonably, every time he did it, they were all mean and shameful tricks. The Wolf King is also pitiful. The habit that he has cultivated for thousands of years must be changed by a word of him. The poor Wolf King couldn't let it go without calling, and for a long time, he finally got a mouth and no fart. Stupid. Come again, don't spit out the wind blade, you don't want to eat, someone threatened relentlessly. The Wolf King is okay. I was stunned for a long time, like constipation, and finally a mouthful of white wind blades flew out. Oh, Feng Daji penetrated Lingxiu and sat on the inner wall of the opposite Shimin. The black gold stone was so hard that it was cut out of a groove. The current Howling Wolf King is much more powerful than it was in Qiu Qiangguang's hands. Thinking about this, it has devoured 5 ghosts. If you swallowed all the ghosts in the soul, how powerful would it be? But now is not the time to be happy. Originally, Yekong expected that the spiritual practice can resist, but he forgot to put it out from the inside. Sure enough, some people outside the stone quickly scolded, who is making trouble here? Don't want to practice and get me back. Yekong heard the voice of Cao Luoxiu, quickly opened the stone door, and sneered, Grandma, I accidentally used the wind blade spell as a spell. When Cao Luoxiu saw that it was really that abominable black egg, he wanted to give a little punishment to the kid who was so crazy he didn't know his weight. However, Su has always been behind. but he hurried up and said, "Oh, this little thing, no punishment, be careful in the future." After talking about it, I winked at someone, presumably, it became thank you. Yet also had a lot of tricks, and hurried to the end. Congratulations to Grandpa and Grandpa, they have been together for 100 years, and they will always be in love. I don't know what it means. Cao Luoxiu blushed and walked away. However, Sujinyi felt that these words were very fresh and appropriate, and she chased Cao Luoxiu for hundreds of years, and she should be a good word for 100 years. You are our matchmaker, and you don't want to call it Grandpa and Grandma. You will call me Brother Su, Sujing I said, patting someone's shoulder. Brother Siesu Yekong snickered secretly. What would Cao Guan call himself? He is his master again. Oops, it's really messy, just like Lun. Then you can practice well. Sugianyi wanted to leave after she said, but someone was unwilling. They said that when two people entered the room and the matchmaker threw it across the wall, were you really realistic? Is NT there any money? Brother Su must be polite. It's normal for Xiaoxiu to give people a marriage in the world. It's normal, and it's not good for anyone. Just give 2 bottles of wine, a few cigarettes or something. Oh, what do I say? Anyway, please brother, you're welcome, don't give thanks. Never. Sugongai laughed, don't you still pull on my sleeve? Sujinyi has a crush on people for more than 100 years, and she has not confessed. She is also a shy person, so she did not expect to give thanks. Now, she will not be petty. This flying sword is called the Sun in Lerth Great Union. It is a top-notch magic weapon, which can be divided into the Sun in Mother double sword. Yes, somebody shook his head. The top-grade flying sword was too low, it was good for others, and it was not enough for him. Mother-in-law of the mother and son, no, I already have a flying sword, which is called stealing happiness alone. Everyone has different ideas, and disputes will occur together. Suja Yunyi fainted and went to steal love alone. What is her mother's name? Fei Jian will still argue. How fresh. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Jian. Chapter 394. 394 Accelerated Training. This golden gong suit is a top-quality defensive armor, and its value is not bad. It has a strong defensive force. Especially when worn, there is a big gong on the chest and back. It can also defend and rebound. It's very. No need, Yekong quickly waved his hand. Japanese ancestors, a big gong before and after. What kind of image does this wear? You can't be laughed out when you go out. Can you be a prime minister, Luluakyo? 2 things were rejected, and Sugongai blushed a bit. The ascetic people were very demanding, and the same was true of the instrument. Except for his usual use, the rest are already given away. Can't give him his own magic weapon? In the middle of Sugongai, a boxy blood-red thing flew in the distance, and then Cao Luoxiu's voice came, you are a minor repair, you are bold, you are speechless, you will be hated by others. I will give you the blood charm, remember, do nt use it lightly, and this charm will not work after 10 times. Yekong couldn't help but sigh, or the woman was attentive, and immediately saw what she needed. This blood talisman looks like a cow X-bake, and it must be able to run far away. If it was chased by the stone wind, it would not be so miserable. Of course, as a love charmer, with this blood charm, it means that there are 10, 100, hey, don't forget that we are a serious 89 charmer. Once again, the door of the stone chamber was closed, and Yekong sat down cross-legged and studied the blood charm a little. In fact, the second thing to study was to calm down and prepare to enter the state of cultivation. At the top of the hill bag, Cao Guang has meditated and recovered almost. Opening his eyes, Cao Luoxiu and Sujanai stood in front of themselves and hurriedly saluted. Cao Guang thanked the two uncles for protecting the fa. No courtesy. Cao Luoxiu waved and said, the origin of Li Hizi can be investigated clearly. This person is bold and attentive, and shameless. He dares to be so bold at the moment when he is not strong. What happened? Cao Guang didn't dare to conceal, and quickly replied, this person's origin is unknown and it didn't take long for me to enter Yunfuzong, but I see him acting like a man. Who? Cao Guang did not answer the question. I wonder if the two uncles have heard of Yekong, a madman in Kangnan. Yekong is wanted everywhere, and the big names have long since gone. Cao Luoxiu and Suja Yunyi haven't closed their doors recently. Of course, they have heard of this name. Yu Li Litzi is the mad fan Yekong. Cao Luoxiu frowned, and nodded for a while. This Li Zizi is arbitrary, but it is thick and thin. It is true that you say this. It looks alike. Sugianyi had a good opinion of Li Hizi and hurriedly said, I think it would be a good thing if Li Hizi is Yekong. I think that Yekong offends many schools and is helpless. If Yunfuzong treats him well, he must be gracious, and watch his style, although he seems arrogant and overexcited, but he is still a reasonable person. If he is to be my Yunfuzong, he will succeed. Cao Guang quickly said, Uncle Su's words are exactly what his nephew thought. Although Cao Luoxiu didn't have a good impression on this person, Sugianyi was justified. She only nodded and said, it's just too low, and I do not know when the array is exhausted. No. It must be, Cao Guangzi said, according to my grandson Cao Junfan, this son was the 6th layer of gas refinery before joining Yunfuzong, but 3 months later, he has reached the 8th layer of gas refinery. Even Cao Luoxiu was surprised this time. It's 2 floors in 3 months? Impossible. At this rate, he can surpass you in 10 years, Cao Guang, don't make jokes. It's not a joke, what the nephew said is absolutely true. Just when Cao Guang wanted to justify a few words, he suddenly saw the real person in charge, Zhong Zihong, running up in a panic, Shizu, Shizu, she. Seeing Zhong Zihong's face with a ghostly look, Cao Guang felt quite shameless and screamed angrily, what a panic. There is nothing that can't be said about anything. Yes, Zhong Zihong didn't know how to say it. He gasped and pointed at the foot of the mountain. 3 ancestors, please look over there. Cao Guang and others hurriedly looked at it. At first glance, it was nothing, but when they looked at it with the eyes, the 3 were unable to shut their mouths together in shock. Zhong Zihong looked at the 3 people's expressions, was proud, and scolded me, didn't you? An elusive ancestor. I saw a huge spiritual cyclone appearing above a quiet room at the foot of the mountain. The spiritual cyclone seemed to be a funnel cloud, absorbing the thick spiritual aura in the formation to the middle of the cyclone madly, and the cyclone the tip is facing a certain stone room. What an overbearing practice method. It's shocking to absorb such aura. Cao Luoxiu couldn't help but blanched. She has lived for hundreds of years and has never seen anyone practice this. Just follow a tornado. Seems to absorb the aura. How much does it have to suck? Cao Guang was also shocked. The practice and nephew are unheard of. Cao Guang quickly asked, 11 Hong, who is the practitioner in that stone room? Zhong Zihong hasn't spoken yet. Suja Yunyi laughed. Well, we just came from here, this person is also the person we are talking about. Li Hizi, Cao Guang exclaimed, and then smiled, only that boy can make such a big movement, and I don't know what basic skills he is practicing, it can be so strong. Cao Guang said after that, his face suddenly became bitter, and he scolded, dead boy. Really do NT need money for Reiki? If you like this, the 9 top quality spirit stones will not last for more than 60 days. And Cao Luoxiu sighed and smiled bitterly, Now I don't worry about the problem of his cultivation enough in 3 years. Then, she looked at the stone room at the foot of the mountain with interest, and took the smile said, what I'm thinking about now is how many levels can he rise in 3 years. In fact, there are also big jade credits for causing such a great momentum. First of all, the 5 Elements Ascension Sutras practiced by Yekong were originally a huge aura absorber, and as a mutant beast, the real aura needed for the real cultivation of the jade was also amazing. If they were outside, they were just aura, and even if they were attracted, they couldn't feel it. But in this space, the Reiki is so dense. Even if you can see the Reiki without sky eye, the momentum can be seen by people. Yekong certainly didn't know that others had noticed him. He was still sitting quietly, absorbing the aura of his body into the body at high speed, flowing along the meridians. The benefits at the foot of the mountain are better than at the top. The aura at the foot of the mountain is not only abundant, but also more pure. On a weekday, you need to run 3 to 4 laps of the aura, and now you only need 1 lap to complete the refining and put it into the gas C storage. Yekong feels that the cultivation speed is now 3 to 4 times faster than outside. If there is such a good thing, don't you hurry to cultivate. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 395. Forced to take Dan. Years of cultivation, day and night, sitting cross-legged, like a dream of Nank. In an instant, 11 months have passed. In the stone room, a young boy in white sitting cross-legged finally opened his eyes, and sighed in his mouth. The 5 elements of the ascension of the celestial sect have been promoted too slowly. Seeing that it is more than half a month away from the 1-year assessment period, I am still practicing. How can this be good? This troubled young man is Yekong. Now he finally understands the pain of practicing the 5 Elements Ascension Sutra, so abundant and explosive. If it is other basic exercises, how can he break through 2 or 3 layers? No matter how bad it is, you have to break through it. However, the 5 Elements Ascension of the Celestial Sect is surprisingly slow, and the aura required for cultivation is also surprisingly much. Yekong has not been lazy for a while in this 11 months, but it turned out that it only rose from the early stage of the 8th floor to the peak of the 8th floor. Sucked in, but didn't even rise up. What worries him the most is that according to the rules of the big team, if you enter the team for a year and the level has not been improved, you must get out of the big team. Such a good cultivation environment would kill somebody and would not go out. Son, don't worry too much, don't you have 20 days? You are now at the top of the 8th floor, just waiting for the feeling of being promoted to the 9th floor, when no one will drive you out. Deo comforted. She practiced very well this year, and of course she did not want to go out. The level up floor feels like coming, not months, not 20 days, I'm afraid that's not enough. Yekong is really a crow's mouth. 10 days later, he felt nothing. 5 days later, he still didn't feel. 2 days have passed. Someone finally couldn't hold it. Yang Tian shouted, "Oh my God! Don't play me! You will let me rise to the next level. Buddy, just like holding a bowel movement, it won't pull and you won't. I'm so uncomfortable, wow." Deo giggled. The analogy of the boy is appropriate, but it is not sanitary. Actually, I don't want to leave. In fact, I want to stay and stay with you every spring, summer, autumn, and winter. God has ignored someone, someone is desperate. There are still 3 days, and no cultivation, just holding the flying sword in one hand, turn the turtle shell into a small one and sing in despair while knocking in front of you. Looking at someone's decadence, Deo couldn't help but suggest, "My son, in fact Deo, there is a way, but I don't know if the spirit is ineffective, there is no danger." Oh, someone's eyes lit up suddenly. Come on. Come on. I'm cranky too, I'm afraid. Afraid of a hair, you said it quickly, and said I analyzed it. Someone was really anxious this time, he was not afraid to go out and lose face. When he practiced the 5 Elements Ascension Sutra, he made slow preparations. He did not want to leave this good place for practice. Besides, there are free black gold stones for the golden winged ants to eat. How can I go out? Deo then said rudely, in fact, the improvement of the realm and level is to use spiritual power to open up the ki, so that its scale and capacity become larger, and the breakthrough of each layer will become larger. Generally speaking, ki is supported by sufficient aura. Another situation is the realization of some heavenly ways, and the ki becomes instantaneously larger, and the last case is to take some elixir and force the ki to open the ki. Yeah, but what do you tell me about these things? I don't realize anything except now. I don't have the magic elixir you said. No, you have it. Deo thought about it. Actually, Zujiden is a very powerful elixir that supports ki. Imagine that you are not supported to a certain degree. How can you build a foundation? Zujiden's medicinal power is very strong. You haven't reached the consummation of gas refining. It will be very painful after taking it. It's it, Yekong patted his thigh. What is the pain, as long as it doesn't die? We don't demand high, just break through the first layer. But it may be dead, I just imagine, I don't know. Deo said and felt very regretful. If Yekong really wanted to have a length of 3 or 2, she would regret it. Yekong also expected danger, but he was still a little sure. According to the 5 elements Xianxia scripture, his deity and spiritual power should be far more than other monks, so those who can be convinced, why can't they? However, he also had to do a good job of preparation, take out more than 10 porcelain bottles, line up, call out the jade, and explain one by one. This bottle is big, but if I have internal and external injuries, stopping me, this bottle is for Yang Yuan Dan, used for healing spiritual damage, and this, Kingzin Dan, if I fall into any psychedelic if you are unconscious, you can feed me one. This bottle is a miracle. Well, it's useless if you take it wrong. Deo Long's face was pretty red. The sun was really. At this time, he also took out these nasty elixir and blushed when he heard the name. After explaining everything, Yekong finally poured a turquoise round pill in his palm. I didn't expect to be able to eat you so early, let me break through. Yekong gritted his teeth and swallowed up a chiquitan. 3 days passed. Dear students in the gas refining period, pay attention. The Zhuzuan Yinling formation has been in operation for 1 year. Today is the annual assessment period. Repeat again, every disciple in the gas refinement period pays attention. Cao Guang's voice suddenly passed into the ears of all the disciples during the gas refinement period. The monk during the Yuanying period really did well, and his spiritual control was just right. He woke up, so the disciples during the gas refinement period did not affect the disciples in the basic period. The most important thing is that the voice is not high or low. It can wake up the disciples without causing harm to them. Boom, a stone door opened, and a disciple in the gas gathering period came out. Then there was a loud bang, and once again, the disciples came out during the gas refining period. Cao Guang and Suquanyi, Cao Luoxiu, and Cao Luyu stood on the high platform, staring at the disciples who came out with eager eyes. When it comes out first, it is naturally faster to promote. For example, the first one who came out turned out to be a disciple who has improved 3 levels, and he has improved 3 levels a year. This can no longer be described. It's fast. It would not be possible without this large array. Zhang Wulin also opened the stone room and walked out. He originally had a 6-story practice of gas refining. This 1-year practice allowed him to add 2-story practice. He is already very satisfied. If he comes another year, reaching the 10-story great realm, he can build the foundation. When Zhang Wulin came out, he found that Xian had already come out before him. Xian, you have also raised 2 levels. Congratulations, Zhang Wulin haha walked over with a smile and patted Xianxi's shoulder. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 396. 396 Accidents Foundation. In the past, Xianxia only had 5 layers of gas refining. When 2 layers were upgraded, there were 7 layers of gas refining. That is to say, it has also begun to enter the late stage of gas refining. 889 is the later period, the 10th story is completed. You're different, it's 2 levels. Xianxia also laughed, and added 2 levels a year. For a disciple like them, it's really a dream and they can't even imagine it. Xianxia laughed again and said, Brother Zhang, guess what, who has improved the most? Zhang Wulin frowned, and tentatively said, Brazilian brothers are out. Xianxia shook his head. That's the blue sky, Zhang Wulin guessed. In principle, Xianxia will not mention people you are not familiar with. Now that Cao Junfan, Li Ruo, and Li Hezi have not yet come out, there is only Lan Ming. But Xianxia shook his head and waved his head, Dong come here. Dong listened to the call and walked down the examination table with a smile. Zhang Wulin took a look at the sky eye and was surprised to find that Dong had actually raised 3 layers, from the original 4 layers of gas refining to the 7th layer of gas refining. Oh, congratulations to both of you and your husband who are at the same time in the advanced stage of gas refining, Zhang Wulin quickly hugged his fist and said. What couple? Dong whispered, but her small face showed a happy smile. Her qualifications were not good and she was always ridiculed. Now she can enter the later stage, which she did not expect. Xianxia was also very happy. He heard Dong also entered the 7th layer of gas refining, and he was even happier than himself. Well, when we go out for 3 years, we are all real people. Seeing those guys laugh at you again for your bad qualifications, Xianxia said resentfully. However, Dong was very sober and laughed. Dong has been said to have bad qualifications since the day of the immortal cultivation, and Dong's dream is to be able to mix the cultivation of the peak of the middle of gas refining to be old. Never dare I want to be able to enter the late stage of gas refining. If it weren't for the help of brother Hezi, how could Dong be qualified to enter this big team, and it would be impossible for him to break through 3 layers in 1 year. All of this is for brother Hezi. Yeah, there is nowhere we are now without brother Hezi. Xianxia nodded, looking at the stone room where Yekong was, and said, Hezi has already entered the 8th layer of gas refining before entering the battlefield. This time, at least it was a great success. Zhang Wulin also nodded, the brothers of the blacks are out of the field, and they can rise 2 levels in 3 months. I am afraid that this time will definitely give us a huge surprise. As he was talking, Lan Ming also came out, but his face was not very good, and his mouth cursed and said, how can a year go so fast? I can go up to the 2nd floor with a little bit of it. Lan Chenming was originally the 5th floor of gas refining, and now it is only the 6th floor of gas refining. I thought that it would rise to the 2nd floor to show the scenery. Not only a few good brothers are looking forward to Yekong, but even the 4 ancestors who stood on the high platform looked at someone's stone room with anticipation. Let's guess how many levels Li Litsi can rise to, Suja Yunyi suggested. What is there to guess? Cao Luoxia shouted. He was originally 8 layers of gas refining. If the gas refining is completed, he will take the initiative to switch on and ask for Keaton. And this year, he basically if he did NT come out, it means that he has NT reached the great perfection yet, or he just arrived at the great perfection and is not in a hurry to build the foundation and wants to consolidate. After Cao Luoxia just finished speaking, Cao Luoyu added, also, more than 10 days ago, the spiritual cyclone above his stone chamber has disappeared, and I guess he reached the perfection of gas refining that day. If when people hear it, they will smile bitterly, because the buddies are waiting for the 8-layer breakthrough. When everyone heard it, they nodded and said that they had made Xianxia blush a little. The ancestors on the high stage watched endlessly, and many disciples on the stage were also looking forward to it. Everyone was staring at the stone gate. But suddenly, the crowd pointed at the space above the stone room, exclaiming, "What's that? Look!" Cao Luoxiu and others were nervous. Could it be that Lihiza began to attract Reiki on a large scale? Meditate until a vision is born. Of course, the fewer people who know this kind of thing, the better. Otherwise, spreading it will be bad for Lihiza. So a few ancestors originally made an appointment, and then called out Lihiza before calling others. But the plan is not as good as the change. Nearly 1 year later, the cyclone on Lihiza's stone room disappeared, so the ancestors of Yuanying didn't need to do more. But if at this moment Lihiza meditates again, it is tantamount to making his secret public. This Lihiza, I really don't know what to do. It's all out, what else do you do? Cao Luoxiu and others scolded in their hearts. But when they raised their eyelids, they found out that this was not the case. I saw a faint gathering of chi gas above the stone chamber, and the small space above the stone chamber tumbling as if it were a fairy cloud. Beneath the air of chi, countless wide-colored seven-color brilliance is shot. Although the scene is not ambitious, it is fascinating, as if above the auspicious cloud is the immortal world of freedom and immortality. It's average by time. Is it? But Cao Guang opened his mouth and looked at it with a stun. The disciples below also paused in their hands and stared back. Finally, the voice of a disciple shouted, "It's the foundation. Someone's the foundation." Yekong's brothers shouted in a louder voice, "It's Lihiza's foundation. Brother Lihiza. Lihiza is real." Lan Ming, Xian, and Dong jumped excitedly as if crazy. Zhang Wulin said to himself happily, "I said you would give us a big surprise." On the platform, several ancestors of Yuanying also realized the general. Cao Luoxiu said, "I didn't expect this kid to build a base and succeed in building it for a year. It is really unthinkable. I heard that Yekong is the root of the 5 elements, is this Lihiza Yekong?" And Cao Luoxiu said, "Most people need 3 months to half a year to build a base, and some even need more than 1 year to digest the power of building a base, but I clearly saw that the spiritual power cyclone stopped more than 10 days ago. Did he succeed in building the foundation in just over 10 days? Impossible, absolutely impossible. If he knew that someone had only spent 3 days building the foundation, he didn't know what to look at. As for Cao Guang, it's even more depressing. Where's the kid from Zhujidan? As I said before, the disciples in the big group can come out and get a Zhujidan. Come out and ask for it, so do NT give face? Is it that Chikadan has fallen to the point where it is unnecessary to give away? They are all busy thinking, but someone is not experiencing it at this moment. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 397. Under the foundation of the accident. Although Yekong's spiritual power and consciousness are stronger than other monks of the same period, after all, he is the top of the 8 layers of gas refining, which is more than 1 layer lower than the normal building base. Immediately after the entrance of Zhujidan, the vigorous medicinal power was dispersed in the leaf cavity. When the outer layer of Zhujidan was dissolved, the medicinal power was dispersed throughout the body. The unbearable moment came. Zhujidan's medicinal power drastically stretched out the meridians, limbs, and meridians of all sizes in the body. In Yes' later words, Lao Zi's time was equivalent to being broken hundreds of times. Still, African blackbirds, yet always makes bizarre analogies, but it's also reasonable. I think that virginity was also strongly opened, but he was bearing all the meridians in the whole body. Pain. Hot pain. The entire body meridian has been torn apart. It can be said that there is no pain in the whole body. This kind of pain lasted for a whole day, and yes, person was so painful that he collapsed. When he barely adapted to the currently open meridian, he found that the second layer of Zujiden was broken down again. This is a slow release capsule. Yekong thought resentfully. Immediately after the second wave of building base started, the key eye was opened, but this time it was not simply the medicinal power to open it, but the medicinal power to stimulate the aura in key eye. The Reiki in Ecchi eye was originally a chaos. 5 Reikis of different colors were mixed together. Among them, the aura of the civil attribute was the most, followed by the water attribute, then the fire attribute, and finally the metallic attribute. Therefore, every time Yekong looks, it looks like a starry sky map in outer space. At first glance, it looks like a yellow-green air mass. One side of the air mass is black and the other is a fiery red. The metallic white symbolizes the stars. When the second layer of medicinal power arrived, Yekong felt that Chi-Hai was going to play the Big Bang. Geoscientists studied it for countless years, and at this moment finally let him know what was going on. I saw the air mass violently spread laterally, and then quickly return to its original state. Then it violently stretched upright again and returned to its original state. This cycle starts and ends. It didn't hurt at this time, it was bloating. Yekong finally understood that it turned out to be more uncomfortable than pain. He would rather endure the heartbreaking pain than this sin. The small water dragon and big jade standing on one side looked at someone sitting cross-legged, suddenly abdomen and bent down, as if the belly was punched, then he abruptly lifted his abdomen and looked up, as if his chin was beaten a punch. Deo looked anxious. "What's wrong, boy? Is it the neuropathy he often says? But so many pills do not cure neurosis." Yekong supported for another day, and he didn't know if Chi-Hai was stretched out. He even had a dead heart. It's so uncomfortable, but that Zujiden has not been broken down yet. Feeling the last layer of gradual digestion, Ye smiled bitterly. Buddies just want to get promoted earlier, don't you torture buddies like this? When the sea of gas expands, the 5 colored spirits in the air mass are slowly changing. When the sea of gas expands to its limit, the spiritual powers group separates the various colored spiritual powers and occupies a site. As the third layer of medicine came, I saw the air mass in the sea of air being stirred. The air mass rotates rapidly, drawing various colors of aura into silk, as if chocolates of several colors form a huge spiral, and the 5 colors that make up the spiral are also formed into thick or thin lines according to their strength. The spiral turns faster and faster. The look and feel is like a windmill spinning fast, but Yekong thought of the engine, the engine. It was at the moment when the giant spiral was formed, that is, when the puppet air was formed outside the stone. While the people outside were still talking, someone suddenly exclaimed, and everyone hurriedly looked at it, only to see that the lingering air actually circled, and then, as if being pulled down by an invisible hand, the psychic cyclone appeared again. Cao Luoxiu was surprised. Sugongai laughed, "This is normal. Some people have built their foundations, and the sea of qi suddenly grows large, unable to adapt, and will naturally absorb a lot of reiki to supplement the lack." But he even sucked in the immortality, Cao Guang said in surprise. Many low-level disciples don't know. In fact, this kind of sulking air exuding 7 colors of glow is the immortal air from the upper world. The immortality is very scarce in the lower realm, and it only appears when someone breaks through the realm. It would have disappeared after a while, and no one has taken the opportunity to absorb it. But having said that, the spirit of the immortal is used by the immortals of the upper world, and the people of the lower world are useless. What Cao worried about was whether there were any side effects. Cao Luoyu dispelled his anxiety. "Rest assured, your baby apprentice will be fine. I thought that when the ascended person had the immortal spirit and light body, I spent a lot of money to get a piece of fairy jade and absorbed it. Among them, the qi is not effective. After a couple of days, the qi will naturally dissipate. It's almost the same as Cao Lu use. At this moment, Yekong also felt that an unknown aura was sucked into his body. When that aura with the 7-colored brilliance entered Ki, Yekong found that it could not be mixed with the 5 elements aura at all, and he could not control it. It surrounds the outer layers of the 5-colored spiritual spiral. This spiral-like engine keeps spinning, drawing aura in a large array. The aura cyclone above Shishi was also ignored by those disciples as the foundation vision. Yekong built the foundation of the 8th layer of gas refining directly, so the gap in the gas sea is relatively large, and he has been sucking like this. 3 days later, disciples who had not been promoted were replaced with disciples newly selected from outside, and the retreat of the 2nd year began again. In front of a stone room, a beautiful girl in yellow clothes quietly looked at the cyclone over a stone room not far away and said secretly, "Congratulations, Brother Heze, you have also built the foundation. I will definitely cultivate and see you in 2 years." With the excitement of Li Heze's foundation, several brothers didn't make a big fight at all, no one was useful for the 3-day holiday, and one by one dived into the stone room and began to work hard. After a few more days, the spiritual cyclone above Shishi disappeared invisible, and then Shimin opened with a bang, and a black man walked out. He still does not believe that he has succeeded in building the foundation. It was too unexpected. He had only wanted to rise to the next level, but who knows how to build the foundation and succeeded. Build the foundation for 8 layers of gas refining? Tell no one to believe that this kind of thing has never happened in Kangnan mainland, no one would think of it. Deu, the biggest credit this time is you. What reward do you want? In fact, you do nt say, I also know, do you want a kiss from a son? It's hard to buy a kiss from a son, I do nt give it to ordinary people, someone said generously. Deu was about to vomit blood. My son, you are too stingy. I didn't say anything. Why, do nt kisses anymore? I really see a nt think of it, Deu, you are so noble. You are a bad patentee, you are a noble dragon, a pure dragon, a dragon out of low-level fun. Someone does not spend money, the compliments are never stingy. What a mess, ignore you. Huh, how can there be a low-level interesting dragon? Deu ignored him. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 398. Foundation building failed. As soon as Yekong stepped out, several ancestors of Yuanying flew over with a smile, and looked at someone, just like the mother-in-law looking at her son-in-law, and seeing someone's hair tingling. Hey, elders, aren't you big girls taking a bath, so what about it? A few ancestors of Yuanying laughed. The boy was really bold and unconcerned. If the other disciples had already stood scared, how could he speak like this? But he didn't get upset like this, it wasn't annoying. Haha, Sunspot, brother, I congratulate you on your success in building the foundation. Sujanai is a beautiful woman, although she hasn't spent much time with Cao Luoxiu in the roundhouse, but she hasn't spent a lot of time this year, of course, thank a certain black man. Thank you, what's your gift? Yekong hit the snake on the pole. She was so frightened that she could not hear. Falling snow, the scenery over there is not as good as how we go boating around the lake. It just happened to me. Cao Luoxiu didn't want to talk nonsense with the boy, and flashed. Hey, wait for me, I have the same intention. Cao Luoxiu quickly left. At last someone's gaze fell on Cao Guang. The old man Cao said angrily, why are you looking at me? I'm clanging poorly. It took you more than 18 top-grade spirit stones this year, what else do you do? The old man Cao said so. Yet also had nothing to say. He also knew that he was crazy about absorbing the aura. He turned back and wanted to continue to practice in the quiet room. Hey, wait, Cao Guang shouted at the boy and asked, since you have reached the perfection of gas refining, you should come out and get a piece of Zhujidan. Good boy, are you rich or not, I ask you, where is Chikitan? Yahalo said, of course, my gas refining consummation came to you to build a Keaton, but the key point is that I haven't arrived yet. 8 layers of gas refining, can you give it? That day, I went to the Wuan River to play. I couldn't think of a small porcelain bottle floating along the river. The porcelain bottle is called a drift bottle. It contained a medicine and a note. The medicine is Chikitan. Someone opened his mouth. Nonsense. Cao Guang was laughed at by him. This kid was too bullshit. There are actually things like drifting bottles in the world. The water in the bottle's brain has gotten into the water. Forget it, I won't talk to you anymore, I don't care where you come from Zhujidan, I still have 1 Zhujidan. Cao Guang took 1 Zhujidan from the storage bracelet and handed it to Yekong. Said, this elixir should be yours. Give it to the people who should use it. Although Yekong had a few Keatons, he wouldn't be too disappointed, so he quickly took over and asked, Master, you have something in your words. Who should I use? Cao Guang laughed, someone has built a foundation successfully, but some have failed. Yekong was startled, who failed to build the foundation? Little pepper or cucumber girl. Cao Guang listened for a moment, and thought, young people can play, even the code name. Yekong also knew that he was anxious to say something wrong. He blushed and said, Zhang Weihai or Huang Zixuan. Zhang Weihai. Thank you, Master. Yekong had planned to continue to practice. At the moment, he was in no mood to cultivate. Little Chili failed to build the foundation. The mood must be bad. Hurry and send her to Chijidan. Cao Guang shouted behind him, 3 days on vacation. Zhang Weihai has been very depressed recently. Well, it's not recent. It should be very depressed this year, and even more depressed these days. Since Yekong entered the Juzwen Lingling formation, she and Huang Zixuan entered the quiet room to build the foundation together. 4 months later, Huang Zixuan successfully completed the foundation construction, and she has been dragging it out for half a year. Her foundation was defeated at the last minute. In fact, at the beginning, everything seemed to be going smoothly. At best, the strength of Zhu Jidan was a little stronger, which allowed her to digest for a while, but also digested, but at the last moment, she lost power. Everyone knows the preciousness of Zhujidan. It is already a painstaking effort to get one. Now the foundation fails and it is difficult to get another one. Since the martial arts were selected by the martial arts team last year, the focus of Zhong Nei's attention has also shifted to his disciples in the martial arts. Therefore, once a year Nuoboit has also temporarily stopped. Zhang Weihai does not know where to go to build another one. Keaton. Although she believes that she will be successful with another Zhujidan, but who will give her another chance? However, she was also an optimistic girl, and did not feel depressed because of this, but it didn't take long for her to meet Qiu Jianguang, who had succeeded in building a foundation. The boy was bitten back by the spirit, and was not injured lightly. He rested for a few months before building the foundation. But he succeeded all at once. Last time, Zhang Weihai inexplicably calculated that Qiu Jianguang had a grudge. After meeting Zhang Weihai, he was ridiculed and ridiculed. He even made a provocative statement in public to fight with Zhang Weihai for a fight. Last time I tried to compete with Qiu Jianguang, thanks to Yekong's help. Now that Qiu Jianguang's body is recovering, he has reached the previous state, and fighting with him privately, isn't he taking his own humiliation? Although Zhang Weihai was angry, but not stupid, he rejected Qiu Jianguang's request for private fight. This lower Qiu Jianguang is even more arrogant, saying that Zhang Weihai is as timid as a mouse. It is supported by Li Heze. Without Li Heze, she is nothing. This kind of small person behavior, so that Zhang Weihai was really angry, did not go out for 3 months, and stayed in Dongfu mixed with Huang Zixuan blossoming. Qiu Qiangguang's provocation was not answered. After a few months, he was short, and Zhang Wei went out occasionally. But just a few days ago, she heard another news. The disciples who came back from the big battle said that it took Li Hezi only 1 year to build the foundation inside the big battle. The foundation was successfully built, and a vision has already appeared, which indicates success. Zhang Wei was really happy for Li Hezi, but when she was happy, she was depressed again. Not jealous of Li Hezi, but she suddenly felt that she was not worthy of Li Hezi. It's not the best for you to have qualifications, you don't need the backstage, you don't have a magic weapon, you don't have a magic stone, you don't even have a foundation. I'm just a waste. Zhang Wei thought so. Although Zhang Wei thinks this way, she is indeed an optimistic person. She decided to find her own suitable direction. Even if the foundation is not successful, we can do something else. Yes, it happens that Huang Zixuan has also entered the big battle, and he is idle when he is idle. It is better to use his talents and do something useful. Zhang Wei pondered for a moment. She is more talented is the charm, the refiner is also good. However, the conditions and learning books in Yunfuzong refiner are not available, only the charms are best for you. However, to make a charm, you first need a psychic charm pen. Before leaving, Yekong also stuffed her with some spirit stones. She went to the firm in Surabaya to watch. The suitable rune pens are too expensive, and the cheap rune pens are not easy to use. Coincidentally, today I heard that an exchange meeting was organized between the disciples. She decided to try her luck and see if there was a rune that suits her. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 399. Exchange in 399 cases. Yekong made a 9-turn lead to the Ling array, thinking in his heart that he quickly went back and sent Zhu Jidan to Zhang Wei. After walking far, he remembered it. No, the gold-winged ants haven't been recovered yet. Really dizzy. But think about it, Yekong still didn't go back. After all, the old man Lin Tianwu didn't find it for a year, and he didn't go out. How could he find it in these days? If he hurried back, Cao Guang would certainly ask, and he would not have the opportunity to take back the golden-winged ants on his back. So Yekong only drove the flying sword to Yunfuzong. I didn't pay attention when I came, but now I walked by myself. Yekong noticed that the daring sentiment was set on the side of the military country of the Hongduan Mountains. I know that the old man Cao Guang is not a person who will suffer, and Wei Qingming did not comment. After the foundation was built, Yekong felt that the water quality of the magical instruments he controlled was higher, and the magical instruments in his hands could also exert more power. What was most refreshing to him was that he had a sea of spiral gas like an engine. The feeling of use is endless. To fly a long time before, he had to drink spirit wine, but today, after flying for 2 full hours, the spirit is still quite abundant. However, this is nothing. I heard that a certain senior went searching in the flood, and flew for 3 months without landing, and finally did not detect anything, and flew back for another 3 months. Of course, the predecessor was at least a monk in the late Yuanying period. Yekong, the real person who just built the foundation, couldn't compare. At noon, Yekong returned to Yunfuzong's gate, jumped down the golden broad-edged shield sword, and walked directly into Yunfuzong's big torii. Those disciples who have kept the gate have long heard of someone's deeds, built foundations in the large array, and absorbed all the visions of the sky. Today, when someone came back, all the disciples inside and out of the hall hurried forward to congratulate. Li Zhenren, congratulations on the success of the foundation. Welcome Li Zhenren back to the mountain. Uncle Li, the next is XXX, please give me more instructions in the future. Yekong didn't have time to delay with them, but his face was also to be done. No polite, just, oh, please hurry up. However, his entertainment seemed to be more discouraged disciples. Uncle Li, disciple XXX wants to worship under uncle's door. There are many people who want to worship the teacher, and more inquiring about the news. Uncle Li, my nephew, I have to build the foundation, may I ask what matters to pay attention to in the construction of the foundation? Yekong was in a state of annoyance, his brows frowned, and his heart was still more pleasant in the southern capital. Everyone regarded himself as a plague and avoided it from afar. Seeing Yes frown, some clever disciples shouted, everyone has a question with Li Jianren. If the real person has just returned, let him reunite with the priest. The disciples suddenly realized that they had to let go. But a disciple followed, saying, is the real person really anxious to find Master Zhang Wei? Well, something. Yekong stopped. The disciple laughed, just now I just saw Sister Zhang Wei went to the mountain post of Zone, and today there was an article exchange meeting organized by my disciple. Presumably, Sister Zhang Wei went shopping. Willing to take real people down. All right, please. Yekong nodded, and followed the disciple to Zonghao Koyama. That's it. The disciple took Yekong to a small mountain stream, and 2 disciples guarded the gate in front of the mountain stream. Oh, thank you. Yekong took out 10 spirit stones and gave them to him. He would rather spend some money and worry less, or the disciple might say, accept me as a disciple? Or other weird things. The disciple also knew each other, took the spirit stone, said nothing, thanked him, and left. The 2 guardians were the disciples inside, and when they saw Yekong coming, they didn't dare to neglect, and hurried up to see Li. As soon as Yekong asked, as an entry fee, even 10 spirit stones were required. Of course, the 2 disciples said that it was waived, but Yekong Ling had a lot of stones, and he didn't want to take advantage of others. He gave the entrance fee quickly. Unexpectedly, the disciple received the spirit stone, took out another elixir and a piece of black paper, and said, this is a change of Rongdan. After taking it, you can change your face, even if the acquaintance does not know the real person. As for this, a sticker is used to block the clouds in my chest. Yekongki said, why is this so? The disciple smiled awkwardly and said, those disciples who buy and sell things always have something to do, Keek, and some people don't want to show their wealth. Oh, that's the case. Yekong thought of the black cape in the Yi family's business and shook his head and smiled, I can't think of the same thing with the goods in the case. The disciple then said, Li Jianren is so bright and natural that he doesn't have to take these things to hide his identity. Yekong laughed at being beaten up. In fact, he didn't want to hide his identity. The key is that he has eaten Yi Rongdan, and then what kind of cheap Karongdan will he eat? Will there be a conflict in medicine? So he didn't take the elixir and headed into the mountain stream. Although the light was strong outside, the mountain stream was a little dark and gloomy. Looking at the expressionless faces like zombies inside, Ye looked cold all over, and scolded in his heart, the cheap elixir was garbage. Change your capacity, this is disfigurement. Seeing Yekong coming in, many disciples wanted to come forward to talk, but took 2 steps to think about what it looks like, so they quickly rushed back. The scene was awkward. Yekong could not control them, but passed by, but his heart was upset. Presumably, Zhang Wei also served this destructor Dan. Where did he go to find her? But as soon as you come, you can find it. Follow the stalls on both sides of the road and look forward one by one. The Firebird curse is cheaper. 40 spirit stones are sold outside, and only 35 spirit stones are sold at the same door. Yekong nodded, and the price was affordable. The goods sold here are mainly spells and low-order magic instruments. Most of them are those who sell the unused disciples to the disciples. They are basically not good. Although the price is cheap, they can be exchanged with spiritual stones and chemical fortune, but for Ye, those are rubbish. At this moment, Zhang Wei was putting a sign in a mid-range position. She also took Gai Rongdan, and even for fear of recognizing herself, she took off her red makeup and put on the white skirt of Yun Fuzong's female disciple before going out. She didn't mean that things were not going right, but that things were too good, and she was afraid that people would become embarrassed. When she came here, she regretted it a little because everyone bought and sold nothing good, and it was estimated that no one would sell the runes she wanted. But speaking back, Yun Fuzong is mainly based on the charms. Maybe someone has a good psychic charm. So Zhang Wei set up a small brand and wrote the acquisition of a psychic amulet pen, and the grade of the amulet pen can be exchanged for a period of 3,500 wood thorns, or it can be acquired by a spiritual stone. The 3,500-year-old wooden thorns are definitely good, so once the brand is announced, it will provoke passers-by to watch, thinking where the rich woman is. Everyone wants it, but unfortunately, a suitable rune pen has not appeared. Zhang Wei decided to wait a while. If there is no suitable rune pen, he will withdraw to the house. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 400. Battle of 4 Zeros. This fellow girl has a good rune pen underneath. I want to exchange the wooden thorns with you. I don't know what you want. Just when Zhang Wei was desperate, suddenly a male practitioner stood in front of her temporary booth. Although everyone took Gao Rongdan, but the repair was not hidden, Zhang Wei saw the other's repair and found that he couldn't see it. It must be a real person. This senior in zone, I don't know what is the charm, can you take a look? Zhang Wei stood up politely. Oh, naturally I have to show it to you, but you have to show me the 3,500-year-old wood thorns. Both of them were interesting and took out their own objects, but because they were all expensive items, they each took their own hands and let each other watch. The man saw that the wooden thorns that Zhang Wei had brought out had indeed reached the age of 3,500. He was immediately surprised, but immediately he converged his eyes, and sighed indifferently, faintly, just smaller. The rune pens that the male Xiu took were packed in a long wooden box. I saw that the rune pens are all green, crystal clear, and the pen body looks like green jade. The most surprising thing is that even the pen part is completely its green. I don't know what kind of magic material it is. This pen is a Chinese-style amulet pen, and the shape is also good, especially the slender and exquisite, as if it were specially made for female runes. Zhang Wei fancy this rune pen at a glance. Seeing Zhang Wei's excited eyes, the Manchu laughed. This pen is a Chinese-style amulet pen, the pen is made of ground jade, and the pen is a kind of grassy grass, like pests and insects are made from the slender meridians in their bodies, and calligraphy and painting are spelled. They are very soft and easy to use, especially suitable for female nuns. Zhang Wei was originally attracted by the shape, and he was exaggerated by this person. Of course, he was even more pleased. He quickly said, "Seniors, they are willing to exchange." But the male repairman shook his head. "Wood thorns over 3,000 years are good, but you only have one, and I lose a lot in exchange with me." This wooden thorn was exactly what Yekong gave her at the time, 3. She used 2, and there was 1 left. Zhang Wei busily said, "But there is only this one below." The male repairman reluctantly said, "This armor is not enough. I'm a finished product. The material for 3,000 years is already a treasure. Although the armor is not enough, it can be used as an auxiliary material when refining the defensive weapon. At least one grade of the weapon is improved." Zhang Wei also knew a little about the refiner. But the mailman seemed unwilling, put away the rune pen and said, "If you want to change, take this wooden thorn and add 3,000 spirit stones, or else stop." There were also a lot of boring onlookers around, and when the man asked for a price, they stunned. "This wooden thorn is already a treasure, and you need to add 3,000 spirit stones. God, 3,000 spirit stones, I have never seen it in my life. Everyone talked a lot, and some people thought it was not worth it. How could a rune pen be so valuable? Some people think it's worth it. After all, good runes are rare. Zhang Wei frowned. At the beginning Yekong also put some spirit stones to her, and Huang Zixuan put her spirit stones in her, so the 3,000 spirit stones could still be collected. But the point is that rune pen really worth the price? If I change it, I do nt know who did it. Seeing Zhang Wei hesitant, the male Xiu smiled ironically, then took out the box of pens, opened the lid, and said, "This pen is not only well made, but also well made, especially suitable for women. This one really suits you. Oh, and, this one also has a nice name, called Bessie, meaning Bishauruzi. Wow, what a poetic name, Bessie. Okay. Okay." Zhang Wei was tempted by these 3 flickers and wanted. But just as she spoke, she suddenly heard a familiar voice behind the crowd. "Bis? Huh, I think it's pretty similar to booger." This voice is not only familiar, but the vulgar tone is also familiar. Quan Yun Fuzong is also the only one who is the most vulgar and swearing. Zhang Wei heard it but was a joy. However, she thought that she had not succeeded in building the foundation, and now she had served the ugly Kai Rongdan again. She was also embarrassed to go out and had to stand down behind the booth. That male repairman often used some cottage products in such exchanges to deceive fellow disciples. This time, he saw that the garbage bought by 110 spirit stones was going to make a big profit. But did not expect someone to make trouble. The male Xiu was furious and shouted, "Who is Hustle? Wordless, vulgar. There is a kind of bright light. Everyone goes out for a private fight." The crowd was 1 minute, but a dark-skinned but vivid face was revealed, and 5 golden clouds on the chest were extraordinary. Then came the man standing in front of the male Xiu and sneered and asked, "This 3-story building brother wants to fight against Li Mao. Li Mugong just built the base a few days ago, just want to try to increase the strength." Seeing Li Hizi, who is like the sun and the sky, the man Xiu was half short. This guy's 8-layer refining can defeat Lin Tianwu, who was in the late period of building the base. Now that he has built the base again, fight with him personally. Doesn't this tofu hit the stone? Male Xiu secretly sorrows in his heart, knowing that this number is coming to kill God. He will not lie to this girl today. Now is good, but also challenged, really did not look at the yellow calendar. It turned out to be Li Jinren. In the next 2 layers of repairs, how dare to challenge Li Jinren? Everyone is here to exchange goods. The so-called harmony makes money. Forget it, the liar male Xiu kept crying and wanted to escape. But how could Yekong let him go? Sneer, "I said that your blessing charm is a booger, as if you have a lot of complaints." Everyone has to face, and the liar man is holding up and said, "Li Jinren, I respect you for his extraordinary magical power, but you can't humiliate my magic charm with no reason. I have to ask, what is wrong with this charm? I just introduced, is there an exaggeration?" The liar man is a bit of righteousness, he doesn't believe this guy can see the flaws of this pen at a glance. "You didn't exaggerate, but you didn't say anything." Yekong came over and said loudly, "The biggest flaw in this pen is this green pen." Everyone, including Zhang Wei, focused their eyes and heard someone say, "Although I don't know what the fungus in the sea is, I can conclude that the fungus is water." Use a water property. The material is used to make amulet pens. When everyone heard this, they nodded immediately, and someone immediately said after the event that Zhuliang said, "Yes, at most, this is the drawing of water attribute spells, and other attribute spells, especially fire attribute spells. I am afraid it is absolutely impossible." The liar male Zhuqiang defended himself, "This is originally a water-based rune pen. Many professional runers have several rune pens with different properties." The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 401. 41 Gift. Yekong gave a sneer and sighed, "You are so embarrassed to say that the original use of water properties as a pen is a failure, and more importantly, the water property materials are not refined well. If I read correctly, that pen the slightest green color is that the fungus has started to grow again. If this pen is not used for a few days, the pen tip must be covered with moldy moss. Ah, it's such a shabby thing, not only everyone, but even Zhang Wei was surprised. Do you say any other attribute spells? You can't even make water attribute spells. So I said it is a failure in the pen, a rotten in the rotten. You are so embarrassed to change the 3,000-year-old wood thorn, you are not a liar what?" After Yekong finished speaking, the crowd suddenly made a noise, and many disciples roared, "Catch this liar! Who is he? Look so shameless! Build 3 bases to lie to the hard money of our little monks." A loud noise here immediately caught the attention of the organizers of the exchange meeting. Those few were also the real strength of the late construction of the foundation, and came to take away the liar mail repair. Many disciples followed to see the excitement, but in front of Zhang Wei, he calmed down, leaving only one male Xiajing standing quietly. Zhang Wei ate Gaorongdan and changed her clothes, but the wood thorn sold her identity. Others don't know, why doesn't Yekong know? Zhang Wei knew that he recognized himself, looked up at a black man, and was embarrassed to laugh. Now he was wearing a zombie face, it was ugly, the main thing was that he was so stupid, so he was ready to exchange with a liar. "This uncle, there's a lot of fun to watch over there, don't delay the minor repairs, I've collected the pens." Zhang Wei wanted to laugh after he said, and bit his head and bit his lip. "Well, you, this minor repair, are so rude. The real person just helped you expose the true face of the liar. You don't say a word of thank you, and you rush out, it's too immoral." Yekong furiously angered. "This kid's costume looks like something." Zhang Wei grinned, and said, "Nothing to do is to be diligent, or to be trespassed. What can I do for you? I think you must have another purpose." Yekong laughed, "Yes, the real person has a different purpose." Zhang Wei didn't look up, he knew that he must be looking at him in disorientation, and whispered, "Rogue. Hey, you minor repair, when the real person is a casual person." Yekong furiously slaps a storage bag, takes out a thing, stretches out his voice. "In fact, the purpose of the real person is very simple, that is because the real person also has a psychic pen to exchange with you. This pen is called Jinzu, and the top-grade charm pen was originally obtained after the real person killed a scum. Although the scum is not a good character, the charm can be regarded as a good hand, especially the fire attribute spell is more handy. This little girl from the same family, compared to you, is also based on the spiritual root of fire, and the gold and wood attributes complement each other, so this pen is very suitable for you. I wonder what you want?" Zhang Wei still lowered his head and whispered, "The treasures of the predecessors are too amazing. I am afraid that I cannot afford to exchange them." "Anyway, you can owe it." Someone stepped forward again. "Xiaoxiu's income is meager, I'm afraid it won't be in a lifetime." Zhang Wei looked down and timid, but her trembling shoulders, like her, can see how hard she smiled and smiled. Yekong stepped forward a half step again, clinging in front of her, and whispered, "It doesn't matter, the money and debt are paid. Senior, Xiaoxiu has a fellow. Your companion is a fool. Such a good girl closed her door without eating." "Rogues, I know those things." Zhang Wei did not dare to continue teasing him, after all, it was a public place, and the boy could do anything when he was excited. Zhang Wei snatched Jinzhu's rune pen and ran with a giggle while someone wanted to move his feet. "Hey! You can't do this, hey, you're going to grab it," someone followed. The disciples who saw many exchanges shook their heads, and this Li Hiza soaked one more. "Alas, our mailman of Yunfuzong is a real cup. There is a small garden outside the mountain stream, but the environment is beautiful, with green grass and flowers, and in the distance there are pavilions and pavilions hidden in the spiritual fog, and a pair of people squirming on the grass in and out. It's okay, there are no disciples here, the elders have gone for a fight. Yekong sorted out Zhang Hui's loose green silk slightly, revealing the beautiful face with a smiley face. It looks good now, and you are not allowed to eat it later. What a disguise. Zhang Hui giggled as he described Gai Rongdan as a ruined Rongdan, but the girl's heart was changeable. She just smiled and was sad, and her eyes suddenly turned red. Actually Zixuan is pretty good. She has good qualifications and has established a foundation. As soon as she said, Yekong knew what was in her mind and comforted, it's okay, there are many failures to build the foundation. What's so frustrating? I believe you will succeed next time. Zhang Hui breathed a sigh of relief and looked up at the sky. She also felt that she would be successful next time, but, where did she come from? She was nagging, but Ye was not idle. He was hungry for a year, and chili was so moving. He was a rogue. But when she felt the pain, her big eyes were filled with tears.